All right, Feisties, welcome to today's podcast. It's Kelly O'Mara. I'm here with Joanne Murphy, Kiza Ferris, and Maya Kingma is joining us late at night in the Netherlands. Welcome, Maya.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I feel like, so apparently we have to start with a correction because every week.
What? Really?
No. And this one is not, it's not a huge one. We think I said the wrong person was on the mixed team relay and the para mixed team relay at the World Championships. It actually was Carson Clough and Owen Crevens.
And they did great.
They did great.
Yeah, they did great. Awesome. Yeah, Corey's been doing too much talking, too much work. It is the Kona come down. That's what that is. It is, when you've been working so hard for so long and then suddenly you stop and then your body realizes that, like, holy moly, we have just pushed the boundaries beyond what we needed to do for the last 6 weeks. So thankfully, I am still really, really busy heading into the 70.3 World Championships. So my body hasn't really.
So you haven't gotten sick yet? Okay.
The 9th of August. But I'm expecting around early December to hit the wall. Really to hit the wall.
I got sick this last week a little bit. And I was like, oh, if only I could have seen this coming. It comes every year after the last big events of the year. Anyway. But we also told Maya a whole 3 minutes ago that she was going to have to pick her most exciting race of the year. So Maya, you've now been able to think about it. What is your pick for the most exciting race so far this year?
Yeah, I think I'm going for a Kona woman race. I think with the winner, like Solveig, that was just, yeah, it was really nice. I think of course super unfortunate for Lucy and Taylor. I think that's not what anyone wants to see, and yeah, I feel for them and for Dan, of course. But yeah, having Solveig winning that's really amazing for her.
That's a good pick.
Yeah.
No debate. Yeah.
I was like, she approves. Yeah. We'll allow it.
Yeah, thank you.
We all called that happening, but it was a surprise. What? No, I'm just kidding.
We manifested, Katie? Did we?
I don't think we did. I'm still just like, I know we've already talked this over like many times, but when I think of just like how big their country is and to have 4 Norwegians on the World Championship podium out of 6 spots, it's like pretty crazy.
Well, and here's my question for you guys, because I was just doing like a 70.3 preview for somebody else this morning. What do you think they're going to win again at 70.3 Worlds? Or do you think it's just like too many? Oof.
Katie, you go.
I would not be as confident with like choosing Solveig in the 70.3 for the women's race. Not because I don't think she's capable of it. I just think it'd be a really hard double to pull off those wins. I don't know if I'd say Casper either for the 70.3, but I could put like a Norwegian.
Right. They've had a longer
as a generalization.
They've had like a longer break between their Ironman World Championships, and
yeah, that's also so true.
I will say, I was doing this preview and every person was like, they'll either not finish or they could do super well. Cause like post Kona, you're like, I don't know. It depends on where they're at emotionally.
Yeah. Kona is so different though. Like, and the thing is with the 70.3 Worlds, they're going to race it like it's an Olympic distance race. Like there is no doubt about it. Maya's smiling there. Like even at Ironman, like when you think about it, the standard is so different now. It's like, and all these athletes coming through the Olympic ranks, all the short course athletes coming through, they are creating such a different dynamic that I think it is wide open. I actually don't think we can predict who could potentially be on the podium. I know who I'd love to see on the podium, but I don't think I'm going to give any insight because it just didn't work the last time, and I really want her to take the
I bet I could guess. I bet I could manifest this for you.
Yes. Yeah, manifest it. But I just think, like, even if you look at how the racing unfolded in the men's side and in the women's side, like it's fast, it's hard. They'll risk the blow up. At least that's what it looks like from where I'm standing. They'll take the risk of blowing up or not finishing potentially. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but it's insane. And there's so many people. There are so many people.
Yeah.
I was going to say, so here's the other big question that's been like kind of buzzing there are a lot of, I don't know what the word to be, but like not starters already, like out of the 60, there's already like 23 on the women's field or something. who have said they're not going to race. Do you guys, and there's like a lot of opinions out there like, oh, that's bad. Like we shouldn't have half the field not starting. It's still going to be a really big field though for 70.3. It's going to be something like 40 or 50 athletes. What do you guys think? Do you think you have an obligation to show up, or do you think it's like, no, it's just sort of is what it is? Katie's shaking.
I don't think there's an obligation to show up when the calendars are so intertwined of like, it's the athlete's choice what they're going to focus on. And obviously like Kona was a big focus. The T100 like final might be a focus, and whichever standings you're kind of like the most competitive in. As a spectator, that kind of like stinks because you always just want to see all of the highest ranked athletes competing against each other. But I think because of the schedule conflicts, like, I mean, would anybody want it? Like, you just did an Ironman, like now to race another world championship at a high level. I think I can see all sides of it where like some athletes might be just like, oh, I'm done after Kona. Like that was everything.
But some people are also turning around from WTCS from Wollongong and coming to 70.3 Worlds. And then the T100 final is the week after.
Yeah.
Like, what?
But I think world triathlon athletes are a little bit more, maybe I'm just speaking with a bias here, but like we're so used to doing a crazy amount of events a year and going like dashing around the basically the globe to do all these races. So I don't feel like it's that unfamiliar of a territory. Whereas like when you're doing Ironman, you're racing a lot more limited time. So it's not quite, you get kind of used to like having a little more space. Maybe that's incorrect. I don't know.
I agree with you with the program though. It's I think it's way too much. And I think triathlon is biting itself in the ass with this a bit because there are so many races and every brand wants to be a series. And I think that's not helping because I think a lot of world triathlon athletes want to do a 70.3 or want to do a T100, but it's almost impossible to combine. I think you see athletes trying to do it. Some might succeed, but even like if you look at the calendar for next year, the WTS series, for me, it's going to be impossible to really participate. It's way too much. It's too expensive. It's too much traveling.
Isn't it like 10 races?
Yeah. And I don't know how many races you have to do to like count for the series. But if that's going to be less than 6, 7, then it makes no sense to have 10 races because then you have going to be so many races where not the good athletes show up. And yeah, so I think it's quite good that T100 is going to change their thing for next year. And maybe that gives some spice.
Right, that there are fewer races.
But if you look even at some of the racing that, like, say, Kat Matthews went all in on the Pro Series and she did the T100 last year, but like her race schedule was insane. She barely raced this year. Like she literally focused on the Pro Series. Laura Philipp was the same before Kona. She had 3 wins from 3 races. And literally that was it. She was not racing. So definitely the load, I think that because everyone's trying to be a series, everyone now has to try and be really smart. The athletes have to really pick the races and the locations, and the travel aspect of it is absolutely huge as well. And you think about like how we feel after Kona, Kelly, like I'm still wrecked. I mean, I know I worked at this weekend, I got a weekend off.
Yeah.
I'm still broken heading into the next.
You guys,
Go on.
you were just, you said all the, I was then trying to count because they just came out with the Pro Series schedule today. And I was just trying to count how many there are while you were talking. And I got up to 50 and I lost count. Are there 50 Pro Series races next year?
No.
Really crazy. That can't
Not
be
pro
right.
race, not pro series.
Ironman Pro Series.
But maybe pro races, but not pro series. Because wasn't there 17 or 18 this year? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's like, that seems too many. That can't be right. I was like, what?
Yeah.
But there are a bunch of WTCSs next year, right? There's like more than there were this year. T100's going down. Pro Series schedule just came out. It is a lot.
But can I just come back and ask you, as athletes, can I just ask with regards to people not turning up to the Ironman 70.3? So if I was an athlete, there was 2 slots at a race for the World Championship for a professional athlete, and I was 3rd, and I didn't get my slot, and I really wanted to go. And then I saw that the athlete that got 1st place in my race decided not to go. I'd be really annoyed. So how does that work then for the athletes that are now had the opportunity to qualify, didn't quite get it, but the person that took their slot at that race is now not racing?
Do you think it should then be made available?
So I don't know. That's the question. Like, Katie, how would you feel if that was your situation?
I'm going to go with a little bit of a cutthroat response. In the sense that if you wanted that spot, then you should have earned the spot and gone. Like, if you didn't beat that person, it's their choice whether they take the spot. You have like
it is. I will say that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
So
I do think sometimes people are harsh to people who, you know, like drop out of the Olympics race or whatever. Like it's their like their race, they earned it, they can do whatever they want with it. Like,
yeah, like you should have been the one to qualify. So
yeah.
True.
That's
I don't know.
Cutthroat. Wow. I'm not a champion. I'm not an athlete.
It is also going to be, it's still, even with some of the not starts, and I'm sure we'll have more in the next week or so of people pulling out, it's still like 45 or 50. It's still going to be the biggest 70.3 Worlds field ever. And okay, Joanne, you're correct. It was like, it's 18 Pro Series races next year. I don't know where this list I was looking at. It must be all the pro races.
Must be, yeah.
50 seemed like too many.
Like way too many, yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Hate indoor training? We have great news. We have partnered with Wahoo to offer you a special deal on the Wahoo Kicker Run, a treadmill that will convert even the most diehard treadmill haters. Wahoo, the same company that revolutionized indoor cycling training, has literally broken the treadmill mold with this machine. With its special run-free mode, you can just hop on it and run. It naturally adjusts the pace as you do, just like you would outdoors. Speed up, slow down, it moves with you as you do. It can also simulate the terrain by subtly tilting the angle from side to side, so again you feel like you're really running, not locked into an unnatural pace or place. Or you can lock it in or even program workouts, so it does put you through your training paces, including both inclines and declines. And it's stunningly quiet, even when you're humming along full tilt. Even if you love training outdoors, the Kicker Run is a game changer for year-round training. No more trying to navigate ice-covered roads, awful weather, or worrying about going out in the dark. We love it, and we think you will too, so check it out. Click the link in the show notes and use the code FEISTY, all caps, one word, FEISTY, to get a free Headwind Smart Fan valued at $300 with the purchase of a Wahoo Kicker Run. That's code FEISTY to get a free fan when you purchase a Wahoo Kicker Run. We will drop a link in the show notes to make it a snap.
Feisties, you're probably already thinking about your 2026 goals. Maybe it's pinning on a race number, hanging strong on that one group ride that's really always a race, or finally tackling an epic cycling adventure. Whatever your goal, it starts this winter. Our Feisty Winter Training for Cyclists is a 16-week group coaching program for women who want to train smart, ride strong, and thrive together. Led by Coach Sharina Bishop-Gordon, the program kicks off December 1st and runs through March 31st. You'll get structured rides, weekly strength sessions, and expert-led education that explains the why behind your training. You'll learn how your body adapts, how to fuel it well, and how to make training fit your life, not the other way around. You'll also be part of a supportive community that gets it, where you can ask questions, share wins, and laugh through the tough workouts together. So this winter, let's lay the right foundation, build your strength, confidence, and community, and have a lot of fun doing it. To join Winter Training for Cyclists, go to feisty.co and look for the yellow banner at the top of the page. To save $50, use the code TRI50, TRI50, all one word, TRI50, to save $50 at feisty.co. But what do you guys, as athletes though, when you're looking at a start list and you're like, this is who all my competition is, but then you don't know who's actually going to start, is that stressful?
I think it depends a bit on what kind of race it is. I think in the WTCS race, it's really like race depending. If you miss a good swimmer or you miss a good biker, or there's a good biker but a bad swimmer, or it can really change the dynamics. I think in a longer distance, it's less important, but it depends on what your goals are in this race as well.
Yeah, I feel like you look at, like, I'll look at start list and like originally when it first comes out and you're like, oh, yay, like these people are going to be like good for me. Or you have like a reaction like, ah, shoot, like that person's like that person's racing. And so then like so from my experience, like I always enjoyed when there was a strong swim cyclist combination on the start list. So then when that changes, I don't feel like it's like a big impact, it's just kind of like, you're like, ah, man, I wish they were there. Like, like I don't, it's not
Right.
like any like bad feelings toward the athletes. It was just like, oh, you had like looked at it and kind of had a different takeaway initially than maybe what it ended up being once the start list got finalized.
Mm.
And kind of similarly, I think not looking at it as an athlete side, but as the spectator side, that's also how I feel, is like when you first look at it, you're like, oh man, this is going to be amazing. And then it like gets to the final
Right.
aspect of it and you're like, well, this is still really good, but like it's a little different than what it looked like originally.
Yeah.
Sure. I think that's obviously like the problem the T100 was having, right? And like I think the problem a lot of the whole like all these, like to your point, all the different brands with all their series and all their races, they're having this problem of they want to promote and then half the people don't start.
Well, and it's hard too, because as an athlete, like you are making decisions kind of like on the fly. Like at the beginning of the season, I may have different expectations of what I want to do than like 5 months down the line, or even athletes who started like Ironman Worlds and were like, I'm going to race 70.3. And then you get done Ironman Worlds or Wollongong World Champs. And you're like, oh, I'm like, like this now does not seem like such a great idea anymore. I know like sometimes I would feel that way with Super Tri. You like get to the end of the season and you'd have the whole series of Super Tri left and you're like, oh wow, like this is a lot left on left on the agenda. And some people will just keep rolling on, and others it's like, I need to tap out now.
On that note, the Dubai, the T100 start list for their grand final came out this week. So that's like the first hit we have at it. It does have some pretty big names on it. Like Lucy Charles is still on it. Julie Daron, Taylor Knibb. But this is again, like, I don't even know if they're going to start 70.3. I don't know who's going to start what. But right now we have that start list just out and they're trying to build buzz.
When does that often get like final? Like T100 seems like it just gets finalized like basically when people are there, right?
They like look around and they're like, who's here, guys? Like,
and how far apart, I should know this, but I didn't look at the calendar, between Dubai and 70.3 Worlds, what's the
a week.
Is that all? Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize it was so close.
Yep. It's November 15th, 16th in Dubai, and it's November 8th, 9th for 70.3 Worlds. So
okay.
Interesting.
So maybe some people are hoping, Joanne, what you were hoping, that they're just going to ride it through and then their body will break down after.
I think it's slightly different if you're an athlete now, Kelly. If you've gone Kona 70.3 Worlds and then T100, like, holy moly, that's insane.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and people have all different strategies too with like how they've been training. So it's like what your fitness level will be at by the time you get to like your last races is pretty dependent on the rest of the schedule and what the like A races have been.
You're either like building up or you peaked and you're just kind of like riding it all the way down to the finish.
Yeah.
And at this point, and maybe Maya, you might be able to answer this question. At this point, let's say if you had raced like 3 big races, are you had potentially 3 big races on your schedule close together towards the end of the season? Are you now looking at next year already and kind of saying, well, actually a race has come out in February that like if I race Dubai after racing 70.3 Worlds, or in your case, one of the WTCS races, are you thinking, actually, I'm going to ditch one of these races because my body needs to recover a bit more so I can get out of the traps really quick in 2026? Like, is that a consideration or is it not?
Yeah, for me it would. I think I'm always an athlete that like I think, and that's also a bit of the downside of so many races. That athletes are not always like at the best best races. I mean, what you're talking about now, it's a final T100. You want to be your best, but you also want to be your best at the World Champs 70.3. But you also want to be your best at the World Champs Kona or Nice. So it's I think it's too much. You cannot be at your best at all those races. So it's what Katie says. It depends on what your main focus is gonna be. But I think that's also a bit of a shame for the event that people say like, okay, I will race it, but it will be like a step up to the other race, or it will be surviving from the other race. So for me, it would also be thinking about, okay, but I want to perform next year as well. And you want like a decent build up to the next season, because for me, I've always had points where I was like, I want to improve this. So next season, I want to work a bit more on this or a bit more on that. But you need also time for that. So yeah, I would definitely think about it and pick. Yeah.
Well, and then like
Maya, have you? Oh, sorry. I was going to ask her if she had already kind of ended her season for the
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
For our holidays.
Yeah, exactly. I had off season. Yeah.
Off season in full swing.
Yeah.
So what does your off season look like? Like, what does your schedule look like now? You went on your holidays.
Yes. Yeah. I had my last like a cycling race 3 weeks ago. Then I had 2 weeks of like really holiday. We went by car to France and go to the mountains. So I just always feel that I want to still be active. So I did a lot of hiking, a bit of trail running, some cycling still. I did 2 swims. But yeah, it's more like, the weather's really good today. I want to go for a ride, or okay, we're close to like a beautiful mountain top and we want to climb it. So it's more like that. And now I'm in my 3rd week and I started training a little bit. So it's just easy, but yeah, a bit more structured. And I'll start next week.
And Maya, how important is it that when you do take that downtime and it's activity, that there's like some fun and social aspect to it, and just enjoying life and sport for what it is, as opposed to focusing on watts and figures and numbers and whatever else you have to look at as a professional athlete?
Yeah, no, I think it's really important. I think if people follow me a bit on social media, I think I always try to show that I still want to enjoy, even if I'm in a busy training period. I think as even Tommy, he called me like a hiker biker. I just like to go with the gravel bike, or yeah, just longer, easy rides and explore a bit. Because I really believe like you have like your important high intensity training sessions. You want to be good there. The food has to be good. You have to be well in those training sessions. You have to prepare them well. But you also have easier days or long endurance days where it's more about just making easy hours. Yeah, and I believe you can do that in different ways. So I try to enjoy them. But in the off season, it's also not that you have to think about, but if I'm hiking a bit too long today, I still have this training session tomorrow. That's important. And for me, especially in Europe or Netherlands, it's really hard to find a decent swimming pool. And yeah, it's really hard. So now it was just really nice to go somewhere and not think about, oh no, but the only swimming pool somewhere nearby is 1.5 hour drive or something. We didn't have to think about it now. So that's also really, really nice. Yeah.
How long?
Why is it so hard? Wait, now I want to know why they don't have pools, Katie. I'm very confused by that.
Calm down. We'll have to get into
I want to know, how long did you swim? What was the length of your 2 swims?
I did.
I'm doing a study.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I did 3.5K, I think around an hour.
Okay. I feel like, because I was just talking to some coaches today about our athletes, and like we do like a little bit now going into the coaching side, like we do a little bit of choice for the off season of like, we just want you to swim, bike, run, and a few times a week. But I put like parameters for the bike and the run. But with swimming, I'm like, nobody's going to overswim on their, like, there's no way they're going to go and be like, let's do 6K today. Like that. I don't think that happens. So this was me just making sure that I was on the right path with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now to you, Kelly.
Sometimes I want to overswim. And this is also to do with your question, Joan, because I think when a swimming pool is nice and there's not 10 people in the other 25-meter lane, it's so nice. And then I love swimming again. But like swimming, I think in the Netherlands, I think we have quite a lot of pools, not as much as I think you see in USA or Australia or whatever. But most of them are 25-meter pools, so they're small. Sometimes even just 5 lanes. And everyone in that city or cities or small country, like cities around it, has to swim in that pool. And most of the times it's just open for 3 hours a day. So 1.5 hours in the morning, 1.5 hours in the evening. So it's chaos. There's not really like many rules about, okay, sorry, but this is a really slow lane and you're swimming butterfly. Maybe you shouldn't do that. Or this is a really fast lane and people are overtaking you every 50 meters. Maybe you should like go one lane to the left. They don't really do that. So it's
even see, this is interesting because this happens obviously at like here in the like at the community local pools, but there's still like the nice pools where the real swimmers swim and the Olympians swim.
we don't really.
You're stuck in the community pool.
Well, it's funny because
we don't have that either. We don't have the Olympians swimming pool beside us either. You know, we have a mix of private pools and community pools, and you could have the people who are doing the breaststroke in the fast lane. Now it is policed a little bit with respect, but it's very difficult, like very difficult.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I went to a pool in Glasgow, Scotland, and like it was a very nice pool, but literally every single swimmer was swimming head up breaststroke to the point where I like asked the lifeguard, I said, "Can I swim freestyle in here?" And he's like, "Yeah." But like I thought like there was nobody doing that. But I think that maybe this is why you're so good at open water, Maya, though. Maybe
No,
it's all this
don't
training
talk
at
about
the
it.
public pools.
Because this is what they tell me if they ask me, "All right, do you have a good training session?" And I said, "Well, it was really hard to do my training session today." And then they said, "Oh, that's good practice for open water swimming." I said, "No, sorry, it's not."
You don't like that.
No, because I also want to be super kind. So like, but also at my training session 1.5 hour, and if you have to explain to people like how to turn or where to wait, you don't always have time for it. And sometimes you just have to wait to find the spots where you can dive in. So maybe I'm sometimes a bit too kind in the pool, but it's hard. Yeah.
You need to channel a bit more Katie's the Fierce and be cutthroat.
Well.
People like aren't turning up to the World Championship with their slot.
I will say like every time I've been to France and I've had this problem at the pools, I literally was like, where do all the Olympians swim? There must be some secret pool for all the serious athletes. Cause I was like, I don't understand I don't understand like Cassandra could not be swimming in this pool. Like that is crazy. But I guess
sometimes I think it depends like if your federation or your team or club, whatever, is from a pretty high level and they book some lanes, that really helps. But yeah, we don't really have that. So
I think it's more common than what people think as professionals just trying to find space in a like normal public pool in like a lot of maybe not the most high performance looking environments. There's quite a lot of that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Would you not email the pool and say, "Hey, I'm a double Olympian and I'm coming to your beautiful town or city and I would love the opportunity to train in your pool. You can use me for your photographs in the pool if you wish, and I will stand outside your pool and endorse it. But could I just have a lane to myself for 2 hours, please?" I mean, surely you guys can do that.
Yeah. I tried that. I tried that. No, it doesn't work. No, when I lived in another city, I was like swimming not in my main city, which was quite a big city. They had 2 swimming pools, but it was not possible to swim there. So I went to a little village. They had a little small swimming pool, and it was that time actually quite nice because the water temperature was super warm. Like it was really like a elderly and children pool. But it was good because it was like in the less preps for Tokyo, so it was absolutely fine. And they all loved it. You know, they even sent me pictures from, we're watching the Tokyo race, and it was super cool. They were all so kind, but they're also like, but this is our pool. We always swim here. So, and they only had they had 2.5 hours openings hours in the morning. So that was quite a lot. So I think that made also that there was more relaxed environment, more relaxed atmosphere around it, but still only 2.5 hours. And some people would come at 7, some would come at 8, some would come at 9. So there wasn't 2 hour free to give me a lane. And I always say I don't want a free lane for myself actually, but I wanted like more for more people because also where I live now, there are a lot of triathletes here. But this is what Katie says, we're all looking for a place and a moment to have a good swim. Yeah.
But what do you think? This is the last of the pool, maybe side.
I think we're doing an entire episode about pool etiquette now.
But what do you think? So like when we went to Hamburg and we did like the double wide German lanes, and like they're like basically 2 to 4 lanes width. And at first when I saw that, I was like, this is like silly. But then you actually can move through people like so much easier. Like in that, what do you think about that?
So
Like, is it good or bad?
you mean like you don't have one normal lane, but it's 3 lanes wide?
Well,
yeah.
like it's like when they take out, like when they're not single lanes, it's more like the whole section in the middle. I always think of
I've
Hamburg
seen
with
that
it.
in like Canada. Yeah, but I've seen that in like Canada and Australia too. And you're supposed to like it makes it easier to
Yeah.
pass
Yeah.
because it makes it
Yeah,
bigger,
I think we
but-
tried that. Yeah, in the Netherlands, they tried it during COVID because they were like, yeah, if you swim in one lane out and then in the other back, you have more space in between, so it's safer. But it's really hard because for faster swimmers, you have twice as much or even 3 times as much people in your lane, which you have to take over. And then they are also overtaking people, and those are also overtaking people. So it got way too complex, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
But it depends. If you're with high level,
are we done?
then
Any
it's
more
great.
swim conversation?
Moving on from
If
swimming
anyone wanted to
pools.
know about pools, this is the
Yeah, we have any more swim thoughts?
We're
Yeah, we need to
suggestions
cover
for swim
here.
pools around the world in the next episode, please, listeners.
And we thought it
Yeah.
was a slow week. This was riveting.
Before we ask Maya more questions about swimming, no, about cycling, is there any other results this week we want to talk about? Any other news this week? It was like you just kind of joked, a little bit of a slow week.
Well, there was plenty of people who still raced, and a lot of people that were racing are heading to the 70.3 World Championship. Interestingly, a lot of the Olympians were racing, which was interesting. So, were they racing to taper or racing to win? That's the question.
I did see like Jennifer Arnold. She did WTCS in Wollongong. Then she went and won like a half in Florianopolis, and then she's headed to Marbella next week. And that's a lot.
Even the travel of that is insane.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's just gonna be
So, but that was the only one that really like jumped out to me. I think.
Yeah.
I was excited because we had the U.S. Performance Center Draft Legal Festival here, which is like a development race. But a lot of our athletes, we had 5 athletes racing there. And it was also tied to NCAA race. And the start list because now not every draft legal race, but there's a lot more draft legal open races. So anybody can now do them in the U.S.
Oh, wow.
No matter, you don't have to be a certain age or demographic which is exciting. So we had, they had 2 open races where it's like collegiate club teams, but also our athletes raced, and then tied with NCAA. And the start list was like women had about 30 athletes and the men had about 60 athletes on it for it, which is very good for the US for anyone listening.
Does it get stressful? Like one of the things when they have open draft legal races, like in France and stuff, is I don't know that I trust every random triathlete in a draft pack. Does that get stressful to just go and do like a local draft legal?
But people think that like world triathlon races is any different. Like, so like
at least you have good bike handling skills.
Yeah.
That's why you also just need to put yourself in the right positions within the bike packs. But I think, now the Continental Cup level of World Triathlon, for every other country, this has been the same, but for the US is different, that you no longer need an elite license to be entered into a Continental Cup race. And so, there's a lot of athletes who are doing it for the first time, but I feel like you got to learn somewhere, right?
this is again, okay, this is my cutthroat statement. I am all for people learning. I just don't want them to like learn
Around me.
into me. Yeah.
My first draft lean was Claremont in an elite race. Like I got my elite license for like at the time that we needed it, because now we don't need it anymore. Oh, how things have changed over the years. But but like I had gotten it for non-draft races. And then the very first race that I ever did draft legal was in Claremont. And it just happened to be, that was in 2013. And it happened to be when like all of Joel's squad, like before I was on Joel's squad, was there. So like all these Olympians were racing this race. And I remember Alicia Kay, because she was already established at that point, and it was my first race. And she's like, Katie, what are you doing? And I like answered like, I have no idea. And she's just like, okay, like, well, there's nothing more to be said here. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you kind of just have to.
Yeah, I think
it's
it
like your
is
first
there.
group ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's really good that they do it, because I think it's a bit of a different discipline if it's draft legal or not. I mean, I really like it when it's draft legal, and it's a really different thing to race TT. It's different. I think my more or less first draft legal was even one of my first triathlons, because we do draft legal more or less immediately from junior on. But I remember it was like, I think my second triathlon, and it was the Dutch Championships. And I was in the front after the swim, and then some other riders came back with me on the bike. And I remember I was like, I think we were 3 or 4, and I was sitting at the back, and then I just like, they were all in line, and I was just riding around them, and then go to the front and riding next to the one at the front. And I said, okay, I want to work as well, but how fast do I ride on front? Yes, I had no idea what to do. Yeah. And they were just looking at me like, I don't know, just go as fast as you can. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's how we learn, because there's not that many opportunities otherwise, really. And
Sure.
so
Fine. I'm just thinking of the number of people I crashed into on my first group ride, which was a high number of people.
I didn't crash into anybody. I got crashed into and knocked off my bike on one of our team training things away years ago, and scarred for life. Scarred.
honestly, you kind of just hope not to be in the packs with the with the use of the.
Yeah, but that's also why
Right.
they have to learn it.
Which, to be fair,
Yeah.
is it is usually it was usually the men who were causing a lot of problems on these group rides. To be fair,
Okay.
I've seen some.
Kelly, now don't start.
Yeah.
Don't start.
I don't know if they
Kelly,
have-
don't start.
I don't know if they have this in the Netherlands, but like the lunch work group ride, and everybody goes out and like hammers for an hour.
Well, you see, the difference is in the Netherlands, everybody cycles everywhere.
Yeah,
So they're riding their bikes from
true.
when they're like
That's
a
true.
year old.
yeah, that's true.
But I also, it's funny because we have our athletes do a lot of the group rides as well because of this exact reason. It's the most unpredictable, and like the effort is hard. That is the most like draft legal racing that you're going to get.
There's a word for that Sarah Chu taught me. It's like esotastic. It means like unpredictable up and down.
I think
Anyway, yeah.
Maya, what
Yeah.
do you do group rides for training or not really? Well, like, yeah. What are you doing? Let's get into that.
What are you doing? All right, let's transition to Maya.
Well, to answer your first question, I don't do a lot of group rides, but that's also, I don't know, because my training program is just like, it was really pinpointed to me. And especially when you're a triathlete, there's so much you have to combine and time. And especially when I finished studying, I was so happy that I had time. So when it was raining in like around 12, but the sun was shining around 3, I could go at 3. And I wanted to keep that flexibility also a bit. And I think what I noticed a lot with group rides is that they go too fast. Because if I have an easy ride, I want to do it really easy, because most likely I have a harder training session earlier the day, later the day, or the next day. Or I had it the day before and I want to recover. So, but what I did when I was younger and wanted to improve my bike skills was joining like, so in the Netherlands, cycling is quite big. And you have like almost every bigger city has like this kind of training races. So you go there on a weekday in the evening and they have like a track, or even maybe on a like a company ground parking place, whatever. They close the roads more or less. It's not professional, and you can just do a group ride, but it's a race. And where I lived in the south of the Netherlands, you had like a small village that had like a cycling track. So it was not like an indoor track, but still like a track. So it had a little bit of incline. But they did races in the whole winter on Sunday mornings. And it was all mixed. So most were men, but they were all cyclists. And I just forced myself to like, I'm going to go there and I'm going to try and learn and ride in this group, see how cyclists ride. So I really wanted to learn that when I started triathlon.
Tell us about this whole racing professionally cycling this year and how you got that opportunity, how that came about. Because I felt like it was just sort of like all of a sudden, like Maya's racing as a pro cyclist.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was a bit more of a roller coaster, but it was also for me very sudden when it went that way. I think like what I just told, like when I was younger, I did some cycling training races, and I was like, oh, but cycling is also really nice because before I did triathlon, I was an open water swimmer, and I really liked the open water because it's more tactics. It's not a time trial. You do it with others. You can like decide if you're going to go hard from start or not, if you want to take people with you or not. It's I really like the tactics and the dynamics in that. And then with triathlon short distance, when it's triathlete, of course, you have that as well. And that there was a component I liked, like Katie said. I was also really happy when I saw Katie or Flora or athletes like that, Taylor Spivak, were still on the start list. And like, okay, we don't even have to look like we know what we want to do and what we want to try. Just Learmonth, of course. I mean, I just like that you have like a race plan, and it's not just okay, go steady state and be as fast as possible. I don't know. That was not our goal. We wanted to go fast at the first 2 laps because we want to make a gap and then continue with riding. So I've always liked that aspect, and I think, and especially when, I got the message. It was a coincidence. After the Paris Olympics, I did a podcast with a former Dutch cyclist, but he was also like more for the national, radio, television, like doing a podcast about the Olympic Games. They invited me to just talk shortly about the Olympics, not because triathlon is that big, but also because we swam in the river and there was a big issue.
Right.
So it got a bit more attention than normally. But because he was a former cyclist, he watched the race, and he was also like, oh, but your cornering was good. And it was really interesting to see this racing. And we talked a bit about this, and I said like, I really I invest a lot in being good on a bike. I want to be good at cornering. I want to race a bit smart. I want to be a bit more aerodynamic, even on a road bike. So we started talking a bit about that. And then I said, I was always interested in cycling. And he said like, oh, do you want to go into cycling? Because people are listening. I said, well, I would really like to try it. And then I think later that evening, I got a message on WhatsApp. And that was from Ezra Tromp. So she is the manager from EF Education Oatly. And she said like, hi, I'm this, I have this women's team, and I saw you racing in the Olympics, and maybe we can have a call. And I was like, oh, but because she's Dutch, so I was like, oh, she listened to this podcast. But then I saw like in between all the messages on Instagram, she had already sent me a message. So she was actually like, oh no, said she was interested in cycling, but now she announced it, so I have to be quick. But she didn't have to, because I was really super happy with her invite. So and then we had a talk after the Olympics, and she said like, okay, the best thing if you want to try it is just join a training camp. So I joined a training camp in January. So they went to Mallorca, which was quite good, but a lot of rain actually the first few days. But there was a big camp. So they had like their women's team, part of them, because the other part was down under racing. But they also have their men's team and a development men's team. So they were like, almost everyone was there. And the training camp went really well. I really liked it. So also for me, it was a bit of a test, like, okay, cycling sounds nice, but do I really like it? Because it's, of course, a different, you're in a team. It's more, it's not that individual. And it's only cycling. Do I like that? How does it work? How are the athletes? So I was also really curious how it would go, but I was really happy. I felt, it felt really nice. I think you might know that Georgia Taylor Brown was there as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought
exactly. So it was also really interesting to be like, even to share a room with her, because normally everything goes with federations. So that was also quite funny. And we still did some swims together because we're triathletes, so we're still gonna do a swim and a run. Yeah. But the training camp went really well. I liked it. I liked how they did it. I liked the professionalism. And we also had one day where we did some mock races. So we did a sprint, like with a lead out. We did a time trial, team time trial. And we ended the day with a race up the Ronda, which is a climb around 4K in Mallorca. And of course, like a lead out sprint and stuff like that is really new for us. But I really like to think about it, and had a very good team. So it was really nice. And with the climb, I even surprised myself because I finished second. Just the sprint finish with Cedrine Cabot, which is a really good cyclist. So that was really, I was like, okay, I really like it. And apparently I'm quite okay in cycling, because you never know, it's you can say, but I'm good in cycling within triathlon, but you don't know what that means. So that was really interesting. And then from that moment on, the team was also quite happy, and they were like, okay, maybe we can take you to some races, not as athletes, but just to join, see how cycling races goes. Because of course you have like a big peloton. There's not what we do, like a crit racing, 5K or 4K loop. It's a 120K loop. And it's all different. But then everything went really quick, because they thought that maybe there was a spot already in May. And I had to think about, okay, but do I want to do that? Because I'm also a good triathlete, and it's going to be pretty hard to combine. But I decided it's post-Olympic year. I don't know what the federation is going to do, how triathlon is going to look. And it's a new challenge. So I was really curious about it. But then it turned out it wasn't possible. That happened. Wasn't bad or anything. So then I decided to go again, like more focused on triathlon, and I wanted to do like a half distance, so 70.3. So I focused on that. Then I got the invite for the T100, so I decided to do the T100. And then while I was in Vancouver, I got a message from the team again that they had a spot for me from July, and that I could even race the Giro. So that was like, kind of a roller coaster period. But I was super happy with the opportunity. I knew it was just for half a year, because they didn't, like most of the teams, they already start thinking about how they want to like have their team the next year. Around May, June, July, and they complete it around August, October, September, more or less.
Sure.
So they already said like, most likely we don't have any space for you the next year, but you could try and see if you like it. That's why I decided to give it a try.
So you'd raced like a handful of the cycling. I mean, you did Tour de France, right? You did Giro. You did like a few.
Yeah, I did just the Giro, because like this year the Giro and the Tour were super close. So all the athletes that were gonna do the Tour most likely didn't do the Giro. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask, did your approach to racing the T100 on the bike following your time with the team versus what you would have raced and how you would have approached the bike previously in terms of racing? Because you went from doing the 5K crits or the crit racing to doing these long distance races on the bike. So did your approach to racing a triathlon and the bike part specifically change because of the experience you had as a pro cyclist?
Not for the long distance. I think the 70.3 or Vancouver that I did, I didn't do any cycling races yet. But it definitely made a change when I did a cycling race and then got back to WTCS racing.
Okay.
Because the racing is, the level is so much higher in like not the top, but the view around it, the bit lower. That's really different. I think you can compare it with triathlon like years ago when there were just 5 good swimmers, and then there was a gap, and then there was the rest. And now it's 10 good swimmers, and then 20 a bit less good swimmers, but still good swimmers. And like, so that's a bit different. And I think what I always tried with the WTCS races, and I think Katie and everyone like sees it and knows it, that you want to make the race hard or want to try to escape. And I think if you do a bit more cycling races or even watch more cycling races, which I definitely did, is you learn a bit more on how to do it. And you might learn that 2 times doesn't work, but the 3rd time might. So that changed a bit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when you raced Karlovy Vary, what was like your mindset or game plan going into it?
Yeah, definitely make it a hard race, but also try to lose people on the lap. I think I really had a bad swim. I don't know why, because I was definitely not where I was supposed to be. So that was a bit of like you had to change the plan then, because I expected to be a bit in the front and I wasn't. So I first had to chase back, and then there's no thinking. I just want to chase back and get back. But I also knew like I gain the most of time when I do it when there's an incline, because I'm stronger uphill. And especially when you're on your own, you win a bit more time than just on the flat, because others can like go around and you have to do it on your own. And that also works when you want to drop people, because if they cannot hold your wheel, it's harder to do that. But when I got back to the first group, and when I had this breakaway, it wasn't really on purpose. I think my
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah, I think my downhill skills were a bit better, especially with the wet conditions we had. So I just saw after every corner, like, oh, okay, I've got a gap. And when I saw it that time, I was like, okay, I will just continue, because whatever, I'm not more or less strong with the group. I can do it on my own as well. Yeah, but I think that's you really need a course like Karlovy Vary for it. Yeah, and I think that's I think you can see it also when you look just at pure cycling races, like the material we have, the bikes, they're so quickly improving that like the speed is higher. This it's harder. You have to generate even more speed to break away. So yeah, I think that's why we also see a bit less breakaways in the triathlon, because the courses are not so challenging, and the speed is higher. I think if you look at Cagliari, that race where we had like the more or less out and back flat with some corners at the finish area, the speed there was so high. I think we what time? Maybe 15 minutes or something for the whole bike section, then the speed is so high that it's so hard to break away. So yeah, that's also something that that I had to learn as well, that's sometimes really hard to break away, but Karlovy Vary is a different one, and
Hey Feisties, Sarah Gross here. We are so excited to be back with you here on our new, shiny, feisty triathlon podcast. Thank you for listening. I am so glad you're here. I want to tell you about one of the Feisty team's favorite recovery products, Prevenex's Neurify Plus. I use the chocolate flavor myself every day to support my strength training. At Feisty, we only support brands that our team uses and products that deliver results we have seen for ourselves. Prevenex's Neurify Plus is one of the best tasting plant-based and vegan shakes I've tried, and trust me, I've tried a lot. It contains balanced protein, carbs, and fat with comprehensive, high-quality micronutrients to help fuel your health. It also contains probiotics and digestive enzymes, so it's super easy to digest and doesn't give you that bloaty, gassy kind of effect that other protein products can produce. Unlike most supplement brands, Prevenex tests everything with pharmaceutical-grade precision, and they also offer a 100% money-back guarantee. So try Neurify Plus or any Prevenex product today, and you get 15% off your first order with the code FEISTYTRY at Prevenex.com. That's FEISTYTRY for 15% off at Prevenex.com. The link will be, as always, in the show notes. Regular listeners of Feisty podcasts will not be surprised to learn that for decades, running shoes have been researched, tested, and designed for men. brands have relied on the shrink it and pink it approach to sell male shoes to female customers. But women's feet differ from men's in numerous ways. We have increased toe splay, higher arches, a more narrow heel, a lower ankle bone, upward angled toenails, and a rounded instep that is smaller in circumference. And because of all those differences, that is why we need HEDAs. HEDAs has unlocked the science behind women's biomechanics through dedicated research and creates running shoes specifically designed for women. So that means a lower heel collar to reduce rubbing on women's ankle bones, plate design to provide heel stability and to decelerate foot impact, rounded instep creating a snug fit through the middle to match the curvature of a woman's foot. Every feature is designed to give you more power and less problems. Breathability that lets your feet breathe easily mile after mile, plus fast drying tech that doesn't allow sweat to slow you down, adaptive stretch that molds to your foot like it was made just for you. I personally have been running in HEDAs for over 2 years, and from the first time I tried them, I knew that there was something different. They really felt like they were made for me. The shoes are super light but provide good cushioning, and they really support my very high arches. I honestly didn't think I would notice the difference after running for so many years in male model shoes, but I really did. So, try HEDAs for yourself today. Go to hedas.com and use the code STAYFEISTY for 20% off. That is Stay Feisty for 20% off at hedas.com. The link will, as always, be in the show notes.
In the cycling races, like being on a team and having, all that support, how is it? I'm just curious about the differences between that and triathlon, right? Like in some ways from the outside, it looks bigger, more money, more professional, but I'm wondering if that's how it feels.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
No
I-
hesitation.
Yeah.
No, there's definitely, but I think it also depends on like how big is your sport in your country. I mean,
Sure.
cycling is big in the Netherlands, but that wouldn't matter because the teams are not from a country. And with triathlon, we are bound to this federation from our country. And triathlon is just not big in the Netherlands. So the past few years, I had to travel on my own, arrange everything on my own to WTCS races, which is crazy for some people. They're like, but it's the world champs and you're top 8. How is it possible that you have to do it all on your own and just see if you can take your boyfriend with you to coach you and you don't have a physio or whatever, or like, that's weird. And my boyfriend, he used to be a cyclist and he was still a bit more involved in cycling. And when he first met me and he saw how we were going to prepare for a World Championships triathlon race, he was like, you're kidding, right? I mean, where is the mechanic? You don't even bring a mechanic? That's so weird, because what if something happens with your bike? You travel all the way to Australia, and if something's happened with your bike, then what are you going to do? So it's, it's really different. Like that part is, it's much more professional.
That varies like by federation, though,
Yeah.
right? Like whether or not you travel with a mechanic. Yeah. Because I was like, I've been in the hotel with the U.S. Federation and they have.
Yeah, we travel with a mechanic and a massage therapist to most of the World Triathlon Championship Series races, but it's very different amongst all the different countries and federations, and even the popularity. It just also depends on like the number of athletes that you have too.
Yeah, but that's different with cycling teams, because for them, one of the most important things is a mechanic and a soigneur. Even like the lowest level cycling clubs, if they go to a race, they bring a mechanic or a soigneur. So it's and we prioritize different things, I think, sometimes. But I think especially with the higher level in cycling, you will always have support around you, and that's really different. I think, I don't know how it is for you, Katie, but even if you go, or was, of course, if you go on like a race and you have like a pre-camp or whatever with the federation. I mean, when we went to Mallorca, they just like, the only thing you have to do is go to breakfast, and they had breakfast for you made. You didn't have to eat the hotel food. And they cleaned your bike and it's ready there to ride. they even filled up your bottles. I mean, that's quite crazy, but
Yeah, I wouldn't say that we'd have that extent of care, but also a little bit depended on like which mechanic is at the races. Like we've had mechanics who in the past have like built our bikes for us when we got to the races, which is just a little like that's not our standard, I would say. That was like above the level of care. And then like, yeah, we never had like a chef travel with us, but we've had like a nutritionist or like for the Olympics in Rio, they brought in a chef for that for like when we were at the hotel. So, but it's at like you're saying, the difference is the highest level of races, but the budget's just like, it's not that they're doing other things instead for us. It's just, the budget isn't there to do that.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. Interesting. Are you planning on continuing to do cycling and triathlon at the same time, like balance them?
Yeah, maybe. I just don't know. For this moment, I really don't know. I don't want to close any door, but I also have I need some open doors for next season. So I'm still looking for another team in cycling, and I'm still a bit awaiting what's going to happen with triathlon. Also, what's going to happen with all those WTS races, and how that's going to work out. So, it's hard. I think just before we started the podcast, I explained a bit, but our federation and NOC decided that they're not going to support Olympic distance triathlon anymore. So individual triathlon is not part of, I don't know, the National Olympic program, which still feels super weird for me because it's not a different sport, but they are focusing on the relay. And this has been for the past few years because more time ago, I think before Tokyo, it was quite normal that the federation would organize a race, the WTS race, and we would go there with a few athletes. But we needed the level. I think that's a normal criteria to ask for. But after that, we just didn't go to the World Champs anymore. And I think they said a bit the World Champ, that's the final, right? I said, no, the World Champ is the whole series. I know it's inconvenient, but that's how it is. But I think it's gotten too expensive and too hard to go there, especially when you're a small country, you don't have a lot of athletes. And then the relay is easy thing. I think small countries think that the relay is an easy thing to perform well in because there are not a lot of countries. I mean, it's just easier to finish top 10, it's that's just how it is. But I think actually it's really hard for smaller countries because it's harder for us to have 3 women and 3 men being at that level. But that's the way that our federation and NOC is going now.
So I'm confused slightly. You guys had to explain this to me too. So if the federation decides they're not sending people to WTCS or they're not going to focus on Olympic distance, can you do it alone, or do you have to have the federation?
Or can you change country of allegiance to go to a different federation?
Well, yeah, that too. But I just meant could you just could Maya literally just sign herself up?
Nah, your federation has to sign you up, but they are okay with it. So they just don't care. If I want to register, I can. If someone that has never done a triathlon wants to register, probably she can. And with how it's going now with the WTS races, I think they might even have a shot at getting at the start list. But yeah, we don't have any criteria for it. So if you want to go, you go. Yeah, if you can enter, that's fine. But they also don't really care.
It costs a lot of money. Not the entry, just...
So you'd have to self-fund yourself or have sponsors.
Yeah, and I think with the racing, that's always been there's always been a bit like that. If you had more money, it was easier to race. But the other thing that's for me a big problem is normally in the Netherlands, if you're doing an Olympic sport and you're, for example, top 8 at the Olympics or at the Worlds, you get funding. So it's a minimum plus 10% income, and you get it when you have that criteria met every year. But now that it's not in the Olympic program of the Netherlands anymore, even if I finish top 8 in Alghero, it doesn't matter because it's not Olympic discipline for them anymore. So I lost my income. So that's for me even the biggest problem. Yeah.
And gosh, when you
Can you get sponsors? Sorry, I'm like we're trying to solve. I'm like curious.
Yeah, no, because triathlon is so small in the Netherlands, it's really hard to find sponsors for really a lot. I've always been really happy when I got like the material I need for triathlon, and then try to do races smart. Don't race too much because it's expensive. Try to be good at the races you do. Win some prize money and some small sponsors. Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot of things to think about next year, how it's going to go, because with the relay, we also have this criteria, but it's harder to meet because you need a lot more athletes that are good at a certain level. And then you also don't know what's going to be the criteria to race in this relay. So it's a lot of uncertainty.
It's a pity when you think about the legacy that will now lead to in your country, because you look at what Norway, we've spoken about them briefly, but the size of that country, and they now have there's 4 world champions in triathlon in that country. How many are they? All Olympians as well, off the top of my head?
Yeah,
Olympians as
they
well.
are.
Like you think about the legacy that the sport, that their legacy will be over the next 2 generations to come of athletes that are going to want to be triathletes because of what, Casper, Solveig, Christian and Gustav have done. Never mind all the other Norwegian triathletes that are there as well. It's a real shame, Maya, when you think about it, like the missed opportunity for the next generation of Dutch kids coming through that want to be triathletes. They have to look outside their country for inspiration.
Yeah, I'm a bit afraid so, but it's a difference in opinion. I think our federation thinks that they can save triathlon with just focusing on a relay, but I always think like it's not a different discipline. I mean, the best relay teams are the countries with the best individual triathletes, and I don't think that's gonna change.
Sure.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Was it's interesting because they go hand in hand, right? The individual and the mixed relay. And if you take people out of the individuals, then they lose contact with the competition and the ability to be one of the top relay specialists. But
There's also which country put all its eggs in the qualifying in the relay bucket last Olympics, and then they just missed out, and then they had put all of their, I don't remember which country, but that happened.
Multiple
You know what
countries.
I'm saying?
And I think more gonna do it because I spoke with some other countries, not gonna tell which, but they were also like, oh, we took an example of the Netherlands because they did so well at the Olympics with the relay. And I was like, yeah, but that was really a coincidence because you just need a lot of good athletes. And I think also what Katie said, you missed the contact because in the end, not all relays that are not the Olympics are as strong as the Olympics. So if you want to train your athletes to be in those race tactics and speed, they need to do high-level individual triathlons. That's what I think. And they say, yeah, you're free to do it. But how World Triathlon is now organized is that smaller countries, of course, all countries can do it, but smaller countries will probably do it first because they have less money and less athletes, is saying, no, we're going to focus on the relays. We're going to qualify on the relays. And you just need a top 140 in the Olympic rankings. You don't even need to do World Triathlon Series for it. You can just do World Cups, which is easier to earn points. So I think it's not good for World Triathlon. I understand that federations are doing this because it might make sense. And if you look at it like this way, but for the sport, it's not great, I think.
Yeah, I guess we'll see what, obviously we're about to kind of enter the next cycle, the next Olympic cycle. So you're right. I guess we'll probably see which countries are going to say oh, we're focused. You know what I mean? Because then everybody puts out their criteria and we'll see kind of how it shakes out.
They also don't really ever know how it's going to go because sometimes it looks all good because I've been at the WTCS race past years, but I don't think a lot of people knew how I had to do that. So I think, you might just see less and less athletes from certain countries or I don't know. Yeah, it's different. I'm curious how it's going to go. Yeah.
So you're balancing all these things, trying to decide what you're doing next year. What do you how are you approaching then this off season? You just going to ride your bike a bunch? You're going to fight it out at the pool? You're going to relax?
No, I'm in my last week off season. So I'm just really eager to start training again. I want to improve on some points in cycling. because I also think it could be useful for triathlon. So I miss some explosiveness, and I think it might be easier to have that in cycling with triathlon offers as well. But I also have some goals with running. I want to improve. I am working with a new running coach, like not a coach because my coach is Dan Lorraine, and he's absolutely great. And he's helped me so much this year because also for him, it was like, hey, Dan, we're going to focus on Vancouver. Hey, Dan, no, sorry, we're going to race the Giro. Oh, no, sorry, we're gonna do Calafifari. So it's been a mess also for him. Yeah, but there's still so much that I want to improve, and that's for me the most fun in any sports. I'm still gonna do that, and I hope in the coming weeks or months that I have a bit more clear what every sport is gonna mean, what the World Series is gonna look like, what the federation is gonna do, if I find a cycling team, and what's their program gonna be. For now I will still do both.
You have so many options.
Okay.
The world is your
There's
oyster.
opportunities.
Yes. I can't wait to see how the season pans out next year for you and where you end up and what you end up doing. I think it's going to be hugely exciting.
Thank you. I hope so. That's a different thing in cycling. You need a cycling team to join the races. So that's a bit different. Yeah. So that's the biggest uncertainty thing, I think. If I want to race next year, Abu Dhabi, I can probably.
Well, I was gonna say you got on the second, you went on the podcast, and you got so now you're here, and we're putting it out in the universe.
We're manifesting.
And someone's gonna.
We want to pick a team. Yeah. Do you want to name a team that you really want to race with next year? We just put it out there.
EF was still absolutely great. It's an American team, of course. So I'm gonna say that.
There you go. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Maya. I was going to wrap up here because we've obviously grilled you on your whole season. But we're going to manifest for you. We're gonna put good vibes out for you to find a good team.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, thanks for having me. It was really good.